PayPal stock, PYPL, has been moving a little bit higher. Wanted to take a look at PayPal stock. This is a stock that I have another channel, and I was beginning to do all these stock analysis on that channel. Decided to break this out into this new channel, growing nicely. Thanks so much for those likes and follows. And I looked at PayPal stock and I said, this would be a company that I would like to buy simply because the yield far outperforms that which you're getting for the 10-year. Now, things are changing within the financial world. I wanted to break down PayPal stock, what's going on with the stock market broadly speaking, and the U.S. economy, which pretty much drives everything. The economy would drive the stock market and ultimately PayPal stock. Let's jump in and I'll show you the breakdown of what I'm looking at for PYPL. If you're finding my channel for the first time, thanks so much for stopping by. I'm an economist. I break down the economy and show how this would affect the stock market or individual stocks. Today we're looking at PayPal stock. PYPL is the ticker symbol here from my original channel, Cannabis Stocks Analysis. I broke out into this channel. I had looked at PayPal stock previously, and I recommended a buy at this point, and it was trading about 53.75 at that time, 53.70, somewhere in that range. Trading up close to 60, so would have done well. The thing is, I'm not a stock trader usually. I would have recommended this stock, PayPal stock, as a value investment, because from a value investment perspective, PayPal stock is well undervalued. It was sold off sharply because of growth concerns and things like this, and no one stepped in to buy it again. So that was really, and I've got a long-term chart. We're looking at the 4-hour bar chart from back in late October when I looked at this, in actually early November, and then, of course, most recently, just this morning. Here's your breakdown of what's going on with PayPal. One of the things as a value investor that I'm looking for is I want to see continuously increasing revenues. And you're going to see some year-over-year basis, you're going to see some cyclical nature. Some quarters are going to be a little lower than, say, another quarter. So you want to look at the entire year. But for Q3 2023, of course, $7.41 billion. Projected revenue, 2024, looking for $32.2 billion for PayPal stock. Should they actually hit that? Now, we're looking at an economy that could be contracting somewhat. My thinking is throughout 2024, we're going to see a small contraction in the overall economy. We're starting to see signs of that. We got inflation numbers that came out recently. It's sticky. Inflation is sticky. The Federal Reserve will have to leave interest rates higher for longer. But these interest rate levels are not exactly prohibitive or restrictive too much for the economy where they're going to push the economy into a recession. Everybody's still hoping for a soft landing, and so far the Fed is pulling that off. The problem is, from what I can see, yes, we will see the economy contract somewhat, but then I expect it to turn right back around and head right back upward. Inflation will do exactly the same. Inflation is going to be sticky, will start to trickle back upward. This will be bad news. 2025, I expect the economy to be forced to contract a little more because the Federal Reserve is probably going to have a lot more work to do. So how does that affect PayPal stock? Mostly, I expect PayPal stock to move higher given if they hit their marks for 32.2% for the year. If the economy does kind of start trickle out a little, contract somewhat, but then start to expand again, and they hit 32.2, this plays nicely in the bottom line for PayPal stock. Margins, gross margins are narrowing, and this is part of the reason why PayPal stock sold off. Their margins are dropping. You should start to see gross margins moving back upward. Not only should you see revenues continuously increasing, which we're expecting for 2024, but you want to see some improvement in margins, and management is working on that. Operating margins 16.2%, net margins 13.8%. The nice thing about this is this outperforms the broad S&P 500 net margins, which the PayPal stock would outperform by about 3.5%. The S&P 500 prints about 2.2 or 10.25% net margins. So this is another thing. First, I'm looking for, from a value investing perspective, I'm looking for revenues that are increasing, and if possible, at a rate that is higher than the broader economy. PayPal is doing that. Number one. Number two, margins. Not only am I looking for, say, revenues expanding a little faster than the broader economy, but I want my net margins to be a little more than the broader economy. PayPal stock, of course, does surpass that. Earnings per share, 93 cents in the latest quarter. This is what we're really going to be breaking down. Projected earnings per share, 2024, $5.91. Lots of asterisks, question marks, things like that. Will the economy continue forward? Are we going to see a small landing, soft landing for the economy with what the Federal Reserve does? Again, and I've iterated this a few times, my expectation is in 2024, inflation does not go away. The Federal Reserve eventually is going to have to sit there and say, we're not lowering interest rates. Inflation is still there. It's sticky. The market's probably going to get the hint once they see that inflation isn't going downward. And the other thing that the Federal Reserve is doing is getting the M2 money supply on trend line. We are a long way away from that occurring. The remedy for that, higher for longer interest rates. So 591 should hit, roughly speaking. Even with some wiggle room for PayPal stock, when we break things down, current price 58.68, 2024 earnings per share projections 542. PayPal stock yield, you take the 542, divide that over top of 58.68, 9.237%. Not bad at all. Okay, let's say they don't hit that 542. It's still, PayPal stock is still significantly undervalued on a yield basis. Moving lower, what's the benchmark? What are we comparing this to? How do we know 9.237 is high, significantly high, pushing PayPal stock undervalued? The treasury yield, the 10-year treasury yield. You have a choice. You either invest in the benchmark, and that's your sort of metric you're looking at, or you don't. You find something better. Hopefully you're looking for something better, although there are other strategies out there. Nonetheless, if your benchmark is 4.2%, but you're able to buy PayPal stock and get a yield of 9.237%, and the economy does kind of move forward as projected, PayPal stock will move up significantly. It is undervalued. And yes, the growth rates have narrowed. Previously, margins dropped, but are starting to increase, making PayPal stock a strong buy. Here's a good look at the overall picture. Now, again, I'm early November, I said PayPal stock is something you want to buy. Everything sold off sharply in October. Everything rebounded in November. Where do we go from here? Likely a lot of sideways. Probably, maybe we go downward. Regardless, when you break down PayPal stock itself, it is significantly undervalued relative to the yield you would be getting compared to the 10-year benchmark. So the big sell-off after 2020 big rally, which we saw in a lot of stocks, then we saw this huge sell-off. There's a lot of juice in the tank here. This is easily a $100 stock given its current yield. That would put the yield at 5%, which is still outperforming the 10-year. Now, a lot of stocks are overvalued when you look at the benchmark, and this will likely, investors are probably going to shift. They're looking at the 10-year saying, listen, whatever stock I'm holding on to, I'm getting this amount of yield. And maybe a bunch of stock investors start getting out, and there's risk to the downside with that particular stock. The alternate, get into the 10-year. But when you look at PayPal stock is so far below valuation perspective from the 10-year this is a stock that could easily go to 100, 120, 130 and still outperform the 10-year benchmark. There's a lot of juice in this tank. I wanted to break this down. If you are, again, finding my channel for the first time, make sure to hit that like and follow button. I break everything down based on the economy, then how the stock market or any individual company would operate inside that economy. Make sure to hit that like and follow button. See you in the next video.